us a little Harinam.
Hare Krishna.
It's all good. Everyone here is like so enthusiastic, qualified, etc., etc. I could go on, but there's no time.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Gurudasa Jayadvaita Swami Niti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nirvirsesha Sunyavadi Aschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Privrajagacharya Stotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Privrajagacharya Stotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Hari Gaura Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Brindi Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Haribo.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Panchatattva Prabhu. Welcome everyone to Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends. Looking forward to our enlivening discussions on this wonderful Madhva Tithi Ekadasi Day. Today is July 1st, 1 p.m. in Honolulu, Hawaii, and we are commencing with the third canto, chapter 33, text 8. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tam Tvamaham Brahma Param Pumangsam Pratyakshotasyatmani Samvibhavyam Svatejasad Pravaham Vande Vishnum Kapilam Vedagarbham. I believe, my Lord, that you are Lord Vishnu himself under the name of Kapila, and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Brahman. The saints and sages, being freed from all the disturbances of the senses and mind, meditate upon you. For by your mercy only can one become free from the clutches of the three modes of material nature. At the time of dissolution, all the Vedas are sustained in you only. Devahuti, the mother of Kapila, instead of prolonging her prayers, summarized that Lord Kapila was none other than Vishnu, and that since she was a woman, it was not possible for her to worship him properly simply by prayer. It was her intention that the Lord should be satisfied. The word pratyak is significant. In yogic practice, the 8 divisions are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Pratyahara means to wind up the activities of the senses. The level of realization of the Supreme Lord evidenced by Devahuti is possible when one is able to withdraw the senses from material activities. When one is engaged in devotional service, there is no scope for his senses to be engaged otherwise. In such full Krishna consciousness, one can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Gurudas Jayadvaita Swami Niti Namane. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Devahuti is wrapping up her prayers rather quickly, and it's actually, we see this sort of theme multiple times in Srimad Bhagavatam, that someone has a lack of qualification to offer prayers. We see this with Dhruva Maharaj, and the Lord kindly touches his head with the conch shell, and his speech, his ability to speak, becomes enlivened. Sanjeevayati Akila Shakti Dharas. Anyway, in Dhruva Maharaj's prayers it's there. And so although he's a small child, he's able to offer this beautiful glorification. And so here also Devahuti, or Queen Kunti, she humbly submits herself that, what is my capability to offer proper prayers? And yet we see that their capability is very great because they've come to this platform of pure Krishna consciousness. We see in the beginning of the 6th chapter of Gita, the nature of the mind. And finally, I believe the 7th verse, it comes to the point of Jitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samahitaha. His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu says that it's kind of like a radio frequency. When you have so many things buzzing in between, it's impossible to hear the directions of Paramatma when the mind is going crazy. And just the nature of stilling the mind in and of itself puts you in line with the frequency to be able to take guidance from within, to be able to have some superior direction. But first, the mind has to be pratyahara. All the senses and mind have to be withdrawn from external objects of sense gratification. His Grace Gopi Pranadan Prabhu would say, Jahara prasade bhaye bhavaturiya, arana koriho mane asha, guru mukha padma vakya, that the words emanating from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master, when that fills up your mind, arana koriho mane asha, I have no other, there's no other room, I have no other desire but to hear those words, then nothing else can disturb it. And so Devahuti is so full from the instructions of Kapila Dev, there's no room for anything else. And when there's no room for anything else, then one's achieved perfection. Then one's in this perfect space of devotional service. So Gopi Pranadan Prabhu would say that, or he said it once anyway, to my knowledge, that Arana Kori Homane Asha, I have no desire to hear anything else than the words emanating from your lotus mouth. And so I think that's all I'll say. Guru Maharaj, if you have something to add to this verse.
Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Prajane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtajadeshta. Devahuti accepts or declares that Lord Kapila Dev is Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Veda Garbham, he's the womb of the Vedas, and yet he's appeared from her womb. This is the yes. And Pratyakshotasi Atmani Samvibhavyam Swatejasa Dvastaguna Pravaham, the constant flow of the modes of material nature disappears by the power, the potency of Lord Vishnu in the form of Kapila Dev. So these instructions from Lord Kapila Dev are transcendentally enlightening, and by hearing them, and yes, we can be freed from the material energy and engaged in the devotional service of the personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. We have a couple things in the chat. Panchatattva Prabhu points out these divisions of yoga practice, how complex they are, even intricate in their execution. It's wonderful that serious practitioners of Bhakti Yoga can make spiritual advancement without getting bogged down in the detailed execution of mystic yoga. Yeah, what are these? Let's see. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. And then I just quoted the Bhagavad Gita verse, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, Adi Devam, Ajam Vibhum. These prayers of Devahuti reminded me of Arjuna's prayers after hearing from Krishna. And then Tulsi Priya Devi says, was it not possible for Devahuti to properly worship the Lord by prayer simply because she was a woman? This reasoning is confusing to me, since Queen Kunti is celebrated for her prayers to the Lord. Is she just blaming her lack of qualification on being a woman? I can understand intellect being different between the sexes, but I don't see why that should affect one's devotion, which is not subject to material considerations. And she clarifies, I mean blaming her disqualification on being a woman out of humility.
Yeah, humility. Otherwise, it was more than possible. She's among the perfected souls.
Guru Maharaj, this is in Srila Prabhupada's purport. Devahuti is not submitting this lack of qualification herself. She's just, I suppose, not prolonging her prayers based on that consideration. Are these just the words of the Acharya, or do we have?
Yeah, the acharyas typically do that. They unpack what's stated. They find intention. They express what's intended.
And yet I consider it a fault. It almost seems that Bhagavata Sada, the essential truth, spoken concisely, is true eloquence. There's some wonderful eloquence in the brevity of Devahuti's prayers, and these are such powerful verses, so commonly quoted.
Yeah. So we'll appreciate from different angles. From one side, we'll appreciate it so concise. From another, we'll look at it and say, she was so humble that she thought she couldn't properly glorify the Lord. There's so many different ways of seeing each verse.
Please, Tulsi Priya, your hand is up. I'm sorry I cut you off before.
Oh no, I was jumping in prematurely. I was just thinking how I guess I have to watch myself because I get into speculation mode. But I was just thinking, what else could she have blamed it on? She had no particular position in the world except that she was, she couldn't say, oh, I'm just a humble street sweeper, or I'm, her position was to be the Lord's mother. That was her role in life. And she's not going to say, oh, I'm not going to speak, there's no disqualification, except I guess you blame it on your bodily constitution, I don't know. But like, as you said, she wasn't blaming it. Prabhupada was unpacking it that way.
All right. Let's, Madhupati Prabhu, are you available to read text 9? If you have it pulled up in front of you.
Okay, let me see. Text 9. Maitreya Vacha Idito Bhagavan Evam Kapilakya Parapuman Vacha Aviklav Vaya Aha Matra Matra Vatsala. Thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, satisfied by the words of his mother, towards whom he was very affectionate, replied with gravity, since the Lord is all perfect, his exhibition of affection for his mother was also complete. After hearing the words of his mother, he most respectfully, with due gravity and good manners, replied.
You can read the next verse too, Prabhu.
Okay. No, by the way, not appropriate. Kapilo Vacha Margena Anena Mataste Shusevena Uditena Me Astitena Param Kastam Achirad Avarotsyasi. Translation. The personality of Godhead said, my dear mother, the path of self-realization which I have already instructed to you is very easy. You can execute this system without difficulty, and by following it, you shall very soon be liberated even within your present body. Perfect. Devotional service is so perfect that simply by following the rules and regulations and executing them under the direction of the spiritual master, one is liberated, as it is said herein, from the clutches of Maya, even in this body. In other yogic processes or in empiric philosophical speculation, one is never certain whether or not he is at the perfectional stage. But in the discharge of devotional service, if one has unflinching faith in the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master and follows the rules and regulations, he is sure to be liberated, even within this present body. Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has also confirmed this. Iha yashya haridasya, regardless of where he is situated, anyone whose only aim is to serve the Supreme Lord under the direction of the spiritual master is called Jivan Mukta, or one who is liberated even within his material body. Sometimes doubts arise in the minds of neophytes about whether or not the spiritual master is liberated. And sometimes neophytes are doubtful about the bodily affairs of the spiritual master. The point of liberation, however, is not to see the bodily symptoms of the spiritual master. One has to see the spiritual symptoms of the spiritual master. Jivan Mukta means that even though one is in the material body, there are still some material necessities since the body is material. Because one is fully situated in the service of the Lord, he should be understood to be liberated. Liberation entails being situated in one's own position. That is the definition in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mukti Swarupena Vyavastita. The Swarup or actual identity of the living entity is described by Lord Chaitanya, Jivera Swarupa, Hoy Krishna Nityadas. The real identity of the living entity is that he is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Lord. If someone is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord, he is to be understood as liberated. One must understand whether or not he is liberated by his activities in devotional service, not by other symptoms. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshulmitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutala Swambhapakadamayam Dadati Swapadam Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutala Vitasya Radhasamritinam. So here Lord Kapila is giving his final instructions to Mother Devahuti after Mother Devahuti recognizes that the Lord Kapila is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Kapila is mentioning that whatever he has explained about the process of devotional service, if she follows without, if she follows the system without difficulty, you should very soon be liberated, even with your present body. And Srila Prabhupada quotes Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Iha yasya haridasya karmana manasagira nikalasu api avastasu jivan mukta sauchyate. He is liberated in his present body. If he has unflinching faith in the words of the spiritual master, and under the direction of his spiritual master, he serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then in this present body, he is in a liberated stage. Jivan Mukta. Right? Yeah. And further, Srila Prabhupada mentions liberation entails being situated in one's own position. Right? Jivera Swarupa Nitya Krishna Das. we are eternally the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Somehow or other, we have forgotten that. Right? So that forgotten stage is revived when the cleansing process happens by engaging our senses in the service of the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Roman, should I say something?
I found it interesting here that Prabhupada comments on the neophytes and their misunderstanding of the bodily affairs of the spiritual master. It's clear that he's speaking from practical experience. Those who don't understand will think in terms of the body and become confused. If the spiritual master is perfect, why this or why that in terms of the body? Because they don't understand the identity of the spiritual master. They just as we become confused. If the deity is a statue, how can he be God? Statues are made of material things, and God is spiritual. How can the statue be Krishna? But one who has trained, whose vision is trained, will see that here is Krishna present. And one who has love for Krishna will experience that here's Krishna present. So those who don't know the science will see how the spiritual master is a human being. I've told that story, I think, one time, that one devotee came into 26 Second Avenue. Prabhupada was chanting, leading kirtan. He looked, very impressive, like Lord Buddha or something, very spiritual devotee. The devotee later became a devotee, was impressed. Then Prabhupada put down the kartals and picked up a book, put on his glasses to give the class. And the devotee thought, but he's a Swami. Why should he need glasses? Swami is perfect. Why does he need glasses? Now these are the misunderstandings that the neophyte will have. Later one will understand, the spiritual master is representing Krishna. We have to hear from the spiritual master, not superficially look toward the physical body. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. We have a couple of things in the chat from Praveen Krishna Prabhu. Queen Kunti, considering herself unqualified, Tata Paramahansa Muni Nam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartam Katang Pashina Histriya. You yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service unto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators, who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? Humility. And Panchatattva Prabhu.
And also, it's like she's not a modern woman. It's not good. What do you mean women can't understand Krishna? What do you mean women are less qualified? What are you talking about? This is a patriarchal blah, blah, blah. That's what you might get today. But an advanced member of the Vedic civilization like Kunti Devi or Devahuti, pure devotees of the Lord, have a different view. And they're, what can we say? Maybe one is less qualified materially by being a woman or being a Shudra or being whatever. But if one is a pure devotee of the Lord, one is the best among all living beings.
You brought to mind, Guru Maharaj, the initiative by Srila Prabhupada in which someone was flagged for perhaps not being qualified to be a Brahmana. And that devotee complain, what do you mean I'm not qualified to be a brahmana? And by throwing the tantrum and lamenting in that way, displayed his lack of qualification. So equal opportunity it's not just women. There's all of us are in a position where we benefit greatly from humility. Panchatattva Prabhu comments. Oh, before, I just wanted to appreciate Panchatattva Prabhu's last comment. As we're reading this purport, I was thinking how blessed we are that we do get to skip those intense processes of yama, niyama, pranayama, pratyahara, all of these things, jump right to bhakti yoga, and you get to sort of finish off with all of it. All right, Panchatattva Prabhu says, one may argue that we may see a person who is spiritually engaged 24 hours a day, but is still suffering from disease. In fact, however, he is neither suffering nor diseased. Otherwise, he could not be engaged 24 hours a day in spiritual activities. The example may be given in this connection that sometimes dirty foam or garbage is seen floating on the water of the Ganges. This is called niradharma, a function of the water. But one who goes to the Ganges does not mind the foam and dirty things floating in the water. With his hand, he pushes away such nasty things, bathes in the Ganges, and gains the beneficial results. Therefore, one who is situated in the spiritual status of life is unaffected by foam and garbage, or any superficial, dirty things. Excerpt from the purport to 10.4.20. And then Praveen Krishna Prabhu says, argument, the deity is imagination of the mind, even if you have description of God, but then you use your mind to carve his face, which you have not seen. And then as many carvings, that many face cuts of God, clearly an imagination. So.
All right, so one is allowed to use one's imagination within the realm of Shastra. You can't imagine that Krishna's purple, or that Krishna's green, or that Krishna's herding cats. But we take the descriptions from Shastra that Krishna has a dark blue complexion, he's herding cows. Then if you stick within that, closely within that description, then you're allowed to use your imagination. The cows are dancing, or like this, or the cows are running like that Krishna is extending his arm this way or that way. You're allowed. That will still be within the realm of acceptability. It probably gives the example that of the post box. So the post box is the authorized receptacle for mail, and it's approved by the post office. But not every post box will be exactly the same. We see some of the post boxes are like this, some of the post boxes are like that. But as long as they stick to the regulations for what a post box is supposed to be, then it's approved by the government and mail is accepted. And if you do something else, then reject it. But as long as you stay within the rules, these are the standards for a post. You see on the post box, approved by the Attorney General, by the Postmaster General. On the bona fide box, you'll see approved by the Postmaster General. The different companies, they can make their box black or they can make it white. They can do this or that, but it has to meet certain standards, and then they're entitled to say approved by the Postmaster General. So the artists are allowed some latitude for their, you can say, imagination or inspiration. But as long as they stay within what's approved by the acharyas, then it will be accepted.
And Tulsi Priya Devi further supports this. Where does imagination within the context of Shastra come from? From Krishna. So. And Panchatattva Prabhu says, there's an element of impersonalism to such an argument. Quote, Krishna, you have not seen Krishna you have not seen, so Krishna cannot be depicted, even if you have the relevant descriptions from Shastra.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And Saraswati Devi has a question. Pranams. One with material eyes cannot recognize the liberated status of pure devotees, like no one understood the Mahabhagavat devotee, Jud Bharat, who many took as a dumb animal-like person. my son Maruti, he asked me, he said, if Jud Bharat is such a great devotee, I don't think we should call him Jud Bharat. I think we should just call him Bharat. That's not very nice to call him Jada. Tulsi Priya Devi, your hand is still up, or it's a new?
That's a new hand. Hare Krishna.
Okay, yes, please.
I was just thinking, Praveen's argument about it being imagination. There's imagination where you just make something up, but if you're talking about the deity, that's artistic vision. If you take if you take one subject, and 10 artists doing a drawing or a painting of one model, all those different versions of their art is going to be different. And yet anybody, as long as they're maintaining to an actual depiction of the person, like we would follow the actual depiction of Krishna and Shastra, anybody will recognize the woman from the artist's depiction. So they're not making it up. They're seeing something according to Shastra. So it's not just, made up imagination, it's vision.
Yes.
Pushkar, oh, sorry, Gurumaj, you had something?
No.
Pushkar Prabhu told me a story that all the artists were drawing pictures, and one of them, I forget which one of your god siblings asked, but one of them asked Srila Prabhupada, all of these pictures look a little different, so which one is the actual way that Krishna looks? And Srila Prabhupada said they all are. So I had one appreciation in this purport. The last lines of both paragraphs are exactly the same, verbatim. Situated in the service of the Lord, he is to be understood to be liberated. And that's repeated twice, once in the context of Jivan Mukta Suchite, and once in the context of Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. But Srila Prabhupada translates them both verbatim. Situated in the service of the Lord, he is to be understood to be liberated. I liked that pounding of the post Nyaya with repetition there.
Anivritti Shabdat.
That's the, what is that, Gurumaj?
Vedanta Sutra, Anivritti Shabdat.
That's the pounding of the post? Or what is that your translation?
Those are the last words of Vedanta Sutra. By sound, one becomes liberated. It's
yes.
Anivritti Shabdat.
And yeah, I remember that from Vanity Karma. One note I have for editorial note that I'm reading from an older book here, and one line was moved right after Iha Yasya Harer Dasye, the line that says, regardless of where he is situated, has been moved to right after Iha Yasya Harer Dasye, and previously it came after the word spiritual master. That the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master, regardless of where he is situated. And so I think that falls in line with sort of the original discussion you were having, Gurumaj, where we're talking about the spiritual master and from material vision. But that quote is stating that regardless of where the disciple is situated, not regardless of where the spiritual master is situated. So I like seeing how that was switched to provide us the proper context. Otherwise, it's perpetuating the discussion kind of in the wrong direction, that a spiritual master not only can have material faults, but can also be situated in any kind of, weird position. But that's not what Srila Prabhupada's saying. Oh, we have more comments. Saraswati Devi says, may I ask, who is the atheist Kapila that Srila Prabhupada mentions often? Did that fake person start their own pseudo-sampradaya, still in vogue?
I don't know much about the atheist Kapila. He's one of the, among the different darshans, Shat Darshan, Kapila's atheistic philosophy is there. essentially it's Sankhya, but it's Sankhya without the most essential element, the personality of Godhead. And so that Sankhya is rejected. I assume he still has his followers, certainly his, what would you say, those who are, he has those who are persuaded by his doctrine. Whether there's a formal sampradaya, I couldn't say.
And then Panchatattva Prabhu says, I wanted to clarify my first comment. I didn't mean to suggest that Bhakti Yoga is an easygoing process that doesn't require determination and careful application. And if you think about it, all the steps of the mystic yoga process can be found in terms of sense control, control of the mind, etc., all the way up to samadhi in Bhakti Yoga. Yeah, even Srila Prabhupada said that you want pranayama, chanting japa is pranayama. So all the steps are there. Tulsi Priya, yes, ask away.
So Maharaj, I was just wondering, sometimes in contrast to what Panchatattva Prabhu says, require determination and careful application. Okay, I agree with that. At the same time, we see differences in how devotees are able to apply the process and differences in their degrees of determination. And I guess I just wonder, it seems like we've all been given the key to get out of the prison cell. And some of us may be afraid of the outside and we're still hanging out in the prison cell. Or maybe our sentence has been commuted and we're just, kind of passing time and doing the best we can in the circumstances. It just seems like in some respects you can feel hopeless because you think you could do better, but somehow it seems impossible or extremely difficult. But you can also feel confident that you're eventually going to get out. And I was just wondering, is it wrong to feel that confidence, even if you don't feel so very qualified as a devotee?
Nishchaya. Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha Nishchayat. It's glossed in the nectar of devotion, paraphrased, that because I'm following the bona fide process, I'm sure that I'll go back to Godhead. Maybe today, it may be tomorrow, maybe whenever it will be, but because I'm engaged in the right process, I can be sure. Nishchaya means confident. I don't have to do something else. I just have to continue with this process and I'll reach the conclusion. And that's called Nishchaya.
Thank you. It seems also that if you're not confident, you may give up hope and then do something stupid because you figure what's the point? Yeah.
Therefore, Nishchaya is required. Without confidence, I'll think, what am I doing? Why am I not doing something else? But what is that? Shraddha Shabdevi Shradkari Sujridha Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kwado Sarvas Karma Katoya. I'll do everything. I'm doing the right thing. I just have to stay with it. So confidence is required, and along with confidence will be enthusiasm and determination. Not just that I'm sure I'll reach the right destination, and so I can cruise. I can lie back and wait for liberation to overtake me. But I have to be determined also. And tat karma pravartana. I have to follow all the rules and regulations very seriously and associate with the devotees, live according to the mode of goodness, or be engaged in the activities of devotional service. Then I'll achieve success, surely.
Thank you.
We have a comment from Praveen Krishna Prabhu. At the Ganga Sagara, the famous Mela for Lord Kapila, when I asked the priest, who is the Kapila, he emphasized with large eyes, Devahuti Putra Kapila. This was the same response at Bindu Sarovar. So it wasn't just Prabhupada clarifying which Kapila. Can I call upon Mahesh Pandit Prabhu? Would you be willing to read text 11?
Yes, Prabhu. Shraddha श्रद्धातस्त्वैतन् matmam justam yagudvadibi yena mama bhayam yaya mrutyum ruchanti atat vida. Translation. My dear mother, those who are actually transcendentalists certainly follow my instructions as I have given to them to you. You may rest assured that if you traverse this path of self-realization perfectly, surely you shall be freed from fearful material contamination and shall ultimately reach me. Mother, persons who are not conversant with this method of devotional service certainly cannot get out of the cycle of birth and death. Purport. Material existence is full of anxiety, and therefore it is fearful. One who gets out of this material existence automatically becomes free from all anxieties and fear. One who follows the path of devotional service, enunciated by Lord Kapila, is very easily liberated. So finally, Kapil Dev tells mother that please do not be fearful. Execute this Sankhya Yoga as I explain you, and ultimately you will get out from this birth and death cycle. So this is for all of us. Kapil Dev is talking to us that we just have to follow the rules and regulation of Bhakti Yoga, namely chanting Hare Krishna mantra, fixed rounds, 16 rounds, then follow 4 regulative principle: no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, and no intoxication. And follow by following these rules and regulation and chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, one will get out from this birth and death cycle. And it is true that this material existence is full of anxiety and very fearful. You can become very easily fearful by coming into this material world. But if you follow the instruction of spiritual master and Krishna, then everything will become easy and you will follow this perfectly. So this is the way Kapila Dev is describing to get out of this birth and death cycle. Thank you very much.
Any comments, Guru Maharaj? All right, we have a question from Saraswati Devi. Lord Kapila is stating his mother will be completely liberated as a definitive future event, but isn't she already liberated since she is his mother? Is this to guide us in bhakti to become pure devotees?
Yes. She's already liberated, that's understood. There's just something. Yes. I think someplace else was mentioned. Everything is according to the role. There's no need even for him to instruct her. Why all these instructions to Devahuti? She's already a liberated soul. There is no need to tell her anything. But he's playing the role of the son, enlightening the mother. You follow this and you'll be liberated.
And indirectly telling us.
Yes.
And also there's some Saraswati Vak here, the Hispanic pronunciation of Jaya. You'll hear Yaya Yagana, you will reach. Yaya, you will reach Yagana. So I have an appreciation there. Now I have newfound appreciation for that pronunciation. You will reach. So whenever they say Jai and they say Yaya, they're saying you will reach whatever destination it is they're praising. Panchatattva Would you be willing to read text 12? I think we have enough time to slip that in before Kirtan.
Maitreya Uvacha Iti Pradarsha Bhagavan Satim Tam Atmanogatim Samatra Brahmavadinya Kapilo Numato Yayo. Sri Maitreya said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kapila, after instructing his beloved mother, took permission from her and left his home, his mission having been fulfilled. Purport. The mission of the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of Kapila was to distribute the transcendental knowledge of Sankhya philosophy, which is full of devotional service. Having imparted that knowledge to his mother, and through his mother to the world, Kapila Dev had no more need to stay at home. So he took permission from his mother and left. Apparently, he left home for spiritual realization, although he had nothing to realize spiritually because he himself is the person to be spiritually realized. Therefore, this is an example set by the Supreme Personality of Godhead while acting like an ordinary human being, so that others might learn from him. He could, of course, have stayed with his mother, but he indicated that there was no need to stay with the family. It is best to remain alone as a brahmachari, sannyasi, or vanaprastha and cultivate Krishna consciousness throughout one's whole life. Those who are unable to remain alone are given license to live in household life with wife and children, not for sense gratification, but for cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Savakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So when a professor is instructing his students and expounding on some knowledge or some like mathematical equation, or taking them through the steps of solving a problem in logic, or et cetera, et cetera. It's not that he's in the learning process. He already knows these things, but he's demonstrating by his behavior how to accomplish the goal or the purpose of that knowledge. And similarly, when Krishna comes, he acts as the ideal teacher, because not only does he give this instruction in so many ways, as he has here with the Sankhya Yoga, which Prabhupada describes as full of devotional service, but he enacts it in his own behavior and circumstances. He leaves home, apparently for spiritual realization. He's setting this ideal example, and Prabhupada's exhorting us to do the same. There are different ashrams and statuses of spiritual life, and they have their different focuses. Prabhupada says it's best to remain alone, not to get involved in so materially involved, and remain alone as a brahmachari, alone meaning not engaged with the opposite sex, as a brahmachari, sannyasi, or vanaprastha, and cultivate Krishna consciousness throughout one's whole life. But there's a concession. Those who are unable to this can live in household life with wife and children, but with a different focus. Normally, wife and children and family life means all kinds of material activities with the goal of sense gratification, the various multifold goals of sense gratification as its purpose. But here Prabhupada's saying not that, but for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada's clearly expressing in the purport what's the better path. They're all fine if one is actually fully engaged in Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada has given his preference in this purport. It's pretty clear. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there's a retrospective sort of reconstructionist movement. What is the word? Anyway, where we go back over history and we say that a batch of uptight sannyasis introduced this prejudice against householder life.
Revisionists.
Hmm?
The revisionists.
Revisionists, thank you, that was the word. Prabhupada introduced this prejudice, sannyasis introduced this prejudice against family life, contrary to Prabhupada's teachings. Well, Hare Krishna.
We have a couple of comments in the chat. I think Panchatattva Prabhu answered your question, Praveen Krishna Prabhu, but we'll clarify because it's a nice point. So alone would mean living with like-minded devotees. Yes, and Panchatattva Prabhu said of the same sex. And Venkatesh Prabhu asks, how was Mother Devahuti taken care of when she was left alone by her son Kapila?
That comes up in one of the comments by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if I'm not wrong. He was confident, Lord Kapila was confident that Devahuti, in her liberated position, would have no difficulty. My Kindle is a weird machine. It doesn't like to move when I tell it to move. So I have trouble finding things sometimes. But that's essentially the comment, that he knew that she would not have any difficulty.
Third class intelligence Kindle, not snigdasya shishyasya. It's not listening.
No, it's stabdha.
Tulsi Priya Devi, you have your hand up.
Hare Krishna. I was struck by the mention of the word beloved mother in the translation, and I don't know Sanskrit well enough to know if that was implied or directly stated in the
Matravatsala, if I remember.
But I was thinking that if you know, this idea of belovedness or you know, having love for someone, we have very sentimental, very bodily based ideas of love. And just as her husband, you know, he gave her what she asked for. She wanted a son who would deliver her, and then he left. And now Lord Kapila is giving her the means of deliverance, and he's leaving. And that's the essence of the love, is that they're giving the most important thing that they desire and need. And then there's no real need to keep the physical proximity of the relationship. You know, he's setting the example, but it's like, it would just be, what would be the point? He's already given her the best thing. And now he's taking care of himself. You know, he fulfilled his duty, and he gave her, that's the love there, to give the person what is really beneficial for them. And I was just struck by the use of the word beloved.
Also because she's a devotee in the motherly relationship. So these are exchanges of devotional service. He's taking the role of son, as Krishna takes the role of son of Ananda Yashoda. So Kapil Dev takes the role of son for Devahuti. That's Vatsalya Ras.
Thank you.
We have one more comment before I turn it over, hopefully, to Mahesh Pandit Prabhu for our final kirtan. Saraswati Devi says, it is noteworthy that the Lord didn't instruct his mother to become a sannyasini, as some deluded people direct for women. Also, this verse reminded me of Mother Shachi's separation and pain when Lord Chaitanya left. All right.
And he's
Mahesh
also
Pandit.
described as the best of devotees of mothers. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described that way.
Could you please repeat that, Maharaj, because I didn't hear the first part.
In one place in Caitanya-caritamrta, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also described as the best among devotees of mothers.
Praveen Krishna Prabhu supplies the Sanskrit Matra Bhakt Shiromani. Mahesh Pandit Prabhu.
Yes, may I ask Krishna Kantaya Prabhu, it's been a long time since we hear from you. Krishna Kantaya Prabhu.
He led the kirtan just last class. Perhaps you weren't with us. I'm not against it. If you nominate him, I'm happy to hear Krishna Kantaya Prabhu again, but that's fine with me. Krishna Kantaya Prabhu, will you do us the honor of another kirtan?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ita Gaur Jaya Vishnupad Vamsa Pariraj Chakacharya Stuta Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Das Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Svasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giridhar Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Sri Guru Anuranga Jai.
Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Krishna Kantaya Prabhu. Thank you, Panchatattva, for the kirtan in the beginning. Thank you to all of our readers, all of our listeners. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.